Shalom and blessings in Messiah Yeshua. These first videos about creation and cosmology are preparing the way and are leading up to understanding how Abba's calendar works. Today we are sharing more on the cosmology of how the luminaries work, and we will focus mainly on the moon today. So, what about that seemingly elusive moon? How can we figure out what she does every month? Once we understand how creation and all the luminaries work, understanding Abba's calendar will be a piece of cake. For starters, here's how you can find out what both the sun and moon are doing on a daily basis. And from a past video, we already suspect that all the luminaries are located in the second heaven under the firmament dome. And timeanddate.com has done a wonderful job of giving us all the daily elevation heights for both the sun and moon for many locations on the earth. And this process has been done by mathematical calculations according to a flat earth model, which they might not admit, of course. But do you realize that NASA's calculations are also all done according to a stationary flat earth model of cosmology as well, because they know the truth about our cosmology. They actually admit this fact in their official documents on the NASA website. And you may go there and read their flat earth statements for yourselves in several of their official documents. They calculate nothing according to a globe-shaped earth. The same can be said with all the military calculations. All weapon systems are programmed according to a motionless, flat earth, and that is a fact you can check out for yourself from their official government documents. There is never a bogus Coriolis effect ever figured into any projectiles like bullets, missiles, or nuclear weapons, nor is it used for aircraft and submarine navigation. The Coriolis effect is a fake theory that is never actually used by anyone, which supposedly takes the rotational spin of the Earth into consideration for making mathematical calculations in order to hit targets. If you want to guarantee missing your target, go ahead and use the bogus Coriolis effect mathematics. But scriptures are absolutely true and must be believed, which all prove the true cosmology of the actual heaven and earth. Abba says we live in a tent that he stretched out over the top of us, and the earth has been placed on pillars that do not move, ever. And even the firmament of heaven will be changed at the creation, at the new creation of the new heaven and the new earth. But the renewed, fire-cleansed earth will stay put on her eternal foundation that will never be moved. And that's according to scriptures like Psalm 104:5, verse 5. Have you ever considered that we are the current Truman Show? Now, if you have not ever heard of that movie called The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey, it is worth checking out as it depicts the truth about our tent that we live in. So what we have done is use timeanddate.com and figured out all the sun's angles for every day of 2019 for where we live and categorized them accordingly into each of the 6 different gates that the sun uses according to Abba's calendar dates. For this year of 2019, day 1 of Abba's new year just happened to start exactly on the spring equinox, because this year we are in the middle of a very special 7-year cycle that has bookend intercalation years in both 2016 and 2022. Like I said, they're bookends. They're 2 cycles that are exactly the same. They'll both start on the 23rd of March on their respective years, 2016 and 2022. And notice that the middle year of this special 7-year cycles always has both a full moon and the spring equinox landing on day 1 of the New Year Wednesday for the start of the year. And that would be this middle one right here, 2019. As you can see, that by the yellow numbers, that 0, it's 0 days out of sync with nature. And it has the full moon, the equinox, the spring equinox, and the first day of the year, all on that first day Wednesday of the year. And in 2022, is when the next time we'll intercalate, and that'll be identical to 2016, where it starts on the 23rd of March. As we will discover when we show how the calendar intercalates, Abba always keeps his calendar mathematically perfect with the 4 seasons and the 7-day Sabbaths. And we will discover later how Abba uses the equinoxes to play tag with each other for additional signs, and he always employs the sign of the full moon at the spring equinox, who is also the referee witness for when to intercalate. So the 2 equinoxes play the game of tag, and the full moon is the referee. They seem to say to each other when they're tagged by the other equinox, "You're it." And they go back and forth throughout history, and will do so unto eternity. We will soon discover how the calendar works and intercalates in an upcoming video, but we introduce it here for you. Abba's calendar is not complicated at all, and Abba has given us his luminaries as witnesses for when to intercalate, and that will be in an upcoming video all by itself. We believe that Abba Yah wants the first day of spring on his calendar to actually start on the first day of spring, whenever possible, or the closest 4th day Wednesday to the first day of spring. And Abba's luminaries testify exactly when we are to intercalate, which will keep his perfect 364-day calendar operating precisely on the correct dates for his feasts and Sabbaths. So first, we went to timeanddate.com and copied all the daily angles of the sun for each 30-day month, which started month 1 this year on March 20th for the new year. So I followed Yah's calendar and proceeded with 30-day increments and added in all the intercalary days one at a time. And the sun will be in each of the 6 gates twice a year for 30 days each time. And the following is that sun's annual march through the 6 gates of the circular ecliptic around Polaris, in which he rides a different numbered horse every day for 30 days each month, and 4 different horses for the 2 equinoxes and 2 solstices. And so the sun will ride a total of exactly 364 horses every year unto eternity. And next video we will share the secret of how the sun only rides 364 horses every year, even though all years contain at least 365 days, and the leap years have 366 days. But as we'll find out, these leap years are different than Pope Gregory's. So the sun starts the new year out in gate 4 headed north. So here is his very predictable schedule. The spring equinox was day 364 of last year, Tuesday, March 19th. And we believe the 19th and the 20th of March were observed to be one 48-hour day. They did not change on the sundials. And so the 48-hour day in which the sun did not change his mounts. He only rides 364 every year. So he kept the same path for 2 days in a row, and that was verified by not only our backyard observatory, but by all the sundials I witnessed this past spring. So I'll just walk it down. Month 1 is gate 4. That's the spring equinox. That's when the sun's at the equator and he's headed north to the Tropic of Cancer, which would be the summer solstice. So 30 days started on March 20th, and then on gate number 2, month 2, gate 5 for 30 days. Month 3, gate 6 for 30 days. And then we do the intercalary day. He's out at his farthest point north, at that point at the Tropic of Cancer, and he'll spend 1 day on the on that summer solstice intercalary day. And then he'll get back in gate 4 and head south then for 6 months. So month 4, gate 6, 30 days. Month 5, 30 days. Month 6, 30 days. So then he keeps on going south. Month 7, he's in gate 3. Month 8, he's in gate 2. And these are all 30 days according to Abba's calendar. Month 9, gate 1. Then the intercalary winter solstice day, when he's as far south as he's going to go on the Tropic of Capricorn. Then he turns around, heads back up north to head for spring at the equator. Month 10, gate 1, 30 days. Month 11, gate 2, 30 days. Month 12, gate 3, 30 days. Then we do the intercalary day. This will be that 48-hour day again, when you combine the last intercalary day with the first day of the new year. I've got this from timeanddate.com, and I wrote all their angles down for the whole time that the sun is in all these 6 gates. So we've combined the sun's daily angles for when he is both headed north to the Tropic of Cancer, which is the summer solstice, and the return trip when he is headed south back to the Tropic of Capricorn, the winter solstice. And the year always starts in gate 4 when the sun is daily headed north at the spring equinox. And here are the sun's daily solar noon angles when the sun is at his highest elevation. And this is for Little Rock, Arkansas, which is near where we live. And we have matched them up to Abba's calendar. For the sun's and moon's angles for where you live, simply go to timeanddate.com, put in your location, and then click on the sun and moon calculator. Now, as we can see, the total angles for when the sun was in gate number 1, the lowest angle was 31.8, the highest angle was 36.2. And this daily gets bigger or daily gets smaller. As he's headed north, it gets bigger, and as he's headed south, it gets smaller. At least for us in the northern hemisphere. Or, well, there is no hemisphere, but us up on the northern part of the tropics. It's actually the opposite. Everything is when you go south of the tropics. And we'll see that a little later too. So gate number 1, the angles were 31.8 to 36.2, and that's for 60 days when he went north and south. That was both months 9 and 10. And then the gate number 2 angles, it keeps going higher, 36.3 to 45.6, months 8 and 11. Gate number 3, the angles of the sun were 45.9 to 57, months 7 and 12. And then gate number 4, the angles were 57.4 to 68.3. And I don't know exactly where the dividing line is. See, it goes from 57 to 57.4. I just had to go by the angles that the sun was actually mentioning. So it might go to 57, 0.2 or something like that, and then it actually starts in gate number 4 at 57.2. I just don't know. There wasn't any days that actually started on that. So it just gets a good ballpark place for us to put the angles. So anyway, gate number 4, 57.4 to 68.3, months 1 and 6. Gate number 5, 68.6 to 76.1. And gate number 6, 76.2 to angle number, the highest one we have for the sun, is 78.7. That's for 60 days, months 3 and 4. Now for us up north, the angles will get higher every day as the sun heads about 16 miles north each day until he reaches the Tropic of Cancer in gate 6. And that's where the sun reverses course and the angles will daily decrease until he reaches the Tropic of Capricorn again in gate 1. Like I was mentioning earlier, this will be the opposite for people south of the 2 tropics. The sun will actually get lower in the sky as it goes north for them because it's getting farther away perspective-wise from them. And that's why the angle of each gate will decrease as the gate number rises for people in the south. So just let me zero in on our poster over here again. We'll just mention a few more things about the star and the moon wheels. Now we take the next step of finding out where the moon will be each month by applying these very same angles that we have used for the sun, since she shares the exact same 6 gates that the sun uses. Now the moon's wheel is also located in the second heaven, but she's just below that of the sun's and the star wheel, which when working together, both wheels are likely used for electricity generating purposes. And the moon's wheel spins at a slower rate, which we will show shortly how she makes one orbit around Polaris every 24 hours and 49 minutes, as compared to the sun's perfect 24-hour orbit around Polaris. And the stars complete their orbit in 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. And this is called the sidereal day of the stars. And like I'll show you in a little bit, how the sun and the stars team up, and the sun will actually take the sidereal orbit with the stars, but she basically does her first 3 minutes and 56 seconds of every day either heading north or south when she's not on her horse. And then while she's going north or south, that star wheel will spin that 1 extra degree for the perfect 24-hour day. And then the sun sets back down, and the sun will literally ride that star wheel all the way around back to that point of beginning and hop back off for her next mount. His next mount, I should say. So it is really neat how they all team up to be signs and seasons for days and years. So to refresh our memories on how the electrical system might work is the sun-star wheel, which would likely contain the active magnets rotating at a different speed over the passive magnets, because this is how generators work. So the passive magnets would be on the moon's wheel, and this generates electromagnetic energy, which keeps all the lights on. So if these wheel turbines ever stop, so does the power to energize the lights. This is what we believe will happen at the very end, when the whole Earth will be plunged into darkness. We wonder if this theory is true, how the active, faithful children of light on the star wheel rule and reign over the passive, unfaithful children of darkness on the moon's wheel. There is no light in them. So since the moon is not far below the sun and uses the very same gates, we can use the same angles that the sun uses for each gate, and it is fairly accurate. Timeanddate.com gives us the daily elevation angles of both the sun and moon. So since we already have determined the sun's angles used in each of the 6 gates, we can simply write the corresponding same gate number down for the moon's corresponding angles. Is it perfect? Probably not, but we at least have very good ballpark figures. Might be off, just a little bit, but not much. Now what we will show is that the moon will get next to the sun at every single new moon, and they will set together in the same gate or just right next to it. In that same, the angles will be very close even if it's not the same gate. But it's just miraculous how that works. That there's 3,000 miles difference, and yet they will always set together every single new moon unto eternity. So the last 9 months of 2019 and the first 3 months of 2020 basically make up Yah's year, because the year starts in the spring. And so with Abba's calendar, the moon's angles were calculated to show which gate she was in at all the new moons, and she was always close to the sun as they rode off into the sunset together. And here are the sun's and moon's angles and what gates they are in for every new moon this year. So hopefully you can read those. So month 1, which was 1/16 on Yah's calendar, and April 4th on the Gregorian calendar, these are all new moons. The sun's degree, this is probably the worst angle. But the sun was 61 degrees, he was in gate 4, and the moon was 53.3 degrees, and she was in gate 3 when they set together. Month 2, this is the other one that's not real close, but it's still within 6 degrees. So the sun was 71.3 degrees in gate 5, and the moon was 65.7 in gate 4. And then one more. There are only 2 degrees difference here, but they're in different gates according to what my calculations. But the sun was 77.6 degrees, and the moon was really close at 75.2 degrees when they set together in the western sky. Month 4, they were both in the same gate. Sun 78.3, the moon was 77.4. In month 5, they were both in gate 5. 73.5 for the sun, 75.9 for the moon. In month 6, 64.2 for the Sun and 65.9 for the Moon, and they were both in gate 4 when they set together. Month 7, the Sun was 53.2, the Moon was 57.2. Really close together. The Sun was in gate 3 and the Moon was in gate 4. In the 8th month, they both set in gate 2 together. Sun 42.1, Moon 42.7. In month 9, they were both in gate 1. Sun 34.3, Moon 36 degree angle. In month 10, 31.9, and for the Moon 31.2, both of them were in gate 1. And in month 11, the Sun was 36.3 degrees. The Moon was really close at 32.8. She was in gate 1, but the Moon was in gate 2. They're still right next to each other. Those are just invisible lines in the sky anyway. They're just for reference points. Probably for when Abba wants to send the messengers out to do something, he'll tell them, you go to gate 3 and it's star number 4,372. Or something like that. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But anyway, month 12, they were really close together. And the Sun was 45.9 degrees. And the Moon was 41.2 degrees. She was in gate 2. The Sun was in gate 3 when they both set together as a new moon. So this is really amazing that she bounces back and forth 25 times per year from tropic to tropic. That's how many times she crosses the equator. And she's in all 6 gates every single month. And yet she manages to get next to the Sun, whichever gate he happens to be in, for every new moon. And they ride off into the sunset together every single new moon month. There could be up to 50 degrees difference in their angles, considering the lowest to highest degrees of all the annual angles in all the gates, which are 3,000 miles apart from tropic to tropic. And yet she is always within 8 degrees at the very worst, and usually much closer. And at worst is always within the next gate. So that is divine. How that works. That there's no way that this could be just a random thing happening. Abba has a perfect clock that he has put up there, and it's for signs and seasons, for days and years. And the signs, by the way, likely means moeds, feasts, Sabbaths, things like that. So I'll just go over the daily rotation there. First of all, I've got it there. Won't have to do it later again then. For the Sun, it's 24 hours, perfect, down to the millisecond in accuracy. As we found in our first video, he's not even partially, even a second off every day. He's exactly 24 hours. And according to Abba, he only uses 364 horses. So there's 364 days in a year, basically. But for us, from our perspective, there's always mostly 365 every year, but on leap years, Yah's special leap years, every 3 or 5 years, there's 366 days. Now for the stars, one revolution is in 23 hours and 56 minutes and 4 seconds. On an annual basis, the stars are always one more day than the Sun, because one revolution is done 1 degree per day. So in the course of the entire year, she will have spun one more time than the Sun, because he flips by 1 degree every day. And so on normal years, the stars will have gone 366 spins, and on leap years, 367. I was really fascinated to find that out. Now the Moon, daily revolution, is 24 hours and 49 minutes. And she makes an annual spin around the Polaris exactly to the millisecond, 354 times every year. She isn't affected by these 48-hour days that the Sun and the stars run together. She's totally separate. She keeps moving 8 or 9 miles an hour, north or south, every day. And every one of her years, no matter what these guys do, her years are always 354. And they always overlap anyway. She comes in from year to year if there's any left over in one of her 29 or 30-day cycles, she just finishes it in that next year. And the same way with going out to the coming new year. Sometimes it does happen that it's exactly on a cycle, but if not, it doesn't matter. She has 354 days perfectly within the 364, where she has 6 cycles of 29 days and 6 cycles of 30 days perfectly every year, no matter what. And so she doesn't care what these guys do with their extra 48-hour days. She's not affected by that. Now this spring the full moon was observed in our backyard observatory to be in gate 4, and he was a full moon when he was there, and along with the sun was also in that same gate 4 at the start of the new year, but they were not seen at the same time like when the new moon occurs. Only at every new moon do the sun and moon ride off together into the sunset together. Full moons will always have the sun and moon on the opposite horizons. The sun sets as the moon rises, and then the moon sets as the sun rises for one more day. And then the moon will continue to recede from the sun. That'll only happen, so it'll only happen one day, because she does her spin is in 24 hours and 49 minutes. So she's always going 49 minutes less per day. So here's the chart. This is a waxing moon from us up north. Now, if we're down below the tropics, that'll go the other direction. So the sun and moon set together every single new moon, and it'll be a sliver, and it matched our chart up there with being in the gates. That's where they set together really close. Now on a full moon, the sun will be setting as the moon is coming up over the horizon at night. It's early evening. The full moon and the sun will be on opposite horizons. And then the very next morning, the sun will be rising as the moon is setting. And this only happens for, like I say, that one day, and then she recedes fairly quickly after that. The moon will always wax and wane from right to left when viewed from the north, and from left to right when viewed from the south of the two tropics. So how do we view the moon is actually proving the cosmology of a flat fixed earth, and the moon's spinning wheel in actuality is very close above us. For example, the waxing crescent moon when at the equator will look like it's at the bottom as it sets. So the moon, which is simply a very large light bulb, will wax from bottom to top at the equator. And the moon is very close and not in outer space. If it were many thousands of miles away, then no matter where we live on Earth, the perspective would be the same for watching it waxing and waning. The fact is, as we can see from empirical observation, the moon appears to be a more or less transparent object that is riding on a wheel that's not far away. So for comparison purpose, imagine a projector is projecting the image of a man on the ceiling in the middle of a large room. And on one side of the room, while looking up at the man, he will appear to have his head towards you, and on the other side of the room, the man will appear to have his feet towards you. This is exactly what we observe when we look up at the big spinning ceiling of heaven number 2. So the stars work basically the same way when in the far south. Depending on where you are, imagine a very large transparent plate with the stars painted on the plate. If you are in the far south looking north, some stars will appear to zigzag because they are closer to the center than you are, and as they come around the far side, they will appear to stop in their circular path and then cut across in front of you, because in fact they are very close. And the views from the south looking north make very interesting star trails. When looking directly towards the east or west, stars will appear to go in straight lines over the top of us, and then hook at the horizons when using time-elapse photography. And you will need to get rid of the fisheye lens on your cameras if you want to get the true perspective of star trails. So let me just explain this chart on the left here. Now, this is the equator. This fella here, when he's looking at the setting new moon, it will look more basically like the crescents on the bottom. Now, if you're looking way up north where we're at in America, you'll see the waxing will be on the right side of the moon. And so the guy on the south, it'll be the opposite. When he's looking up at the moon, the waxing will be to his left. So we believe that this proves that we're on a very, a fixed Earth, and this wheel is not very far above us. It's like being on the other side of a wall, for nothing better to give an example. If this equator is like a wall, if you're looking to the right, you're going to be seeing what this fellow is looking to to his left, and it'll be a different perspective. So in actuality, the luminaries all stay the exact same height in the sky, even when they appear to rise and set, because of perspective. And it's exactly like observing a jet that appears to rise on the horizon, and it'll get higher in the sky and then appear to set as it reaches the other horizon. Did the jet change altitude? Of course not. Neither do all the luminaries. They simply spin on wheels above us. Time-elapse photography always shows the circular motion of all the luminaries, including the sun and moon, as they hook towards the center of the Earth as they orbit Polaris. And the closer to Polaris that we observe the stars, the tighter the circles will be. Now, Enoch says there is nothing in the moon except her light. The moon is in no way reflects the light of the sun, but she has her very own light, which is cool and not warm like sunlight. You will warm up in the shade when you get out of the moonlight, and cool down when the moon is shining on you, which is opposite of the sun. When you're in the sun, you warm up, and you get in the shade, you cool off. It's the exact opposite. I'm going to explain the right side of this chart here. This is all perspective again. So you've heard of the movie The Karate Kid or whatever, when he was teaching him how to wax on and wax off? Well, this is similar, only they keep in the same direction. They wax on and wax off, and I should say wax on and wane off in the same direction. Now we've made the blue, that's the light part of it, just for ease of explaining it. So the light lit up blue part is the lighted part of the moon. So for us up here in the north, when the moon starts waxing and gaining her light, she fills it in from right to left, and she'll get full all the way over here. This will be the last part she fills out, and that'll finish her waxing. Now when she starts waning, she will reduce light the same way. She will this part of the moon will disappear, and then this part and this part, and the left part of the moon will be the last part that gives up her light. And this will be opposite again, like I say, in the south. If you're south of the tropics, down in Australia or New Zealand or wherever down there, then your waxing will be on the left, and your waning will also be on the left. Now here's basically the quarters of the moon. The first quarter, that the whole right side of the moon is lit up, and then of course there's a full moon. It is the second quarter, and then the third quarter is, this will have waned. This part they'll actually flip, and this part of the moon will be dark now, and this part of the moon will be light. And then the fourth quarter is when she's empty of all her light and starts over again as a new moon. So she charges up her solar batteries, the moon does, by the power of the sun each month when she gets close to him. But that's it as far as using the sun for his light. She powers her own lights at her own times. She has 14 switches that turn off and on her lights in very definite measures. In other words, there is no gradual changing of lights. And it should be an instantaneous change every 24 hours. And now we'll show you the 14th parts of the moon, how she breaks down her light. The following percentages are the only options for the moon's phases. And all other numbers really are bogus, because Enoch gives us the numbers. So the moon changes phases in exact proportions and doesn't ever gradually change from one phase to another. And here's the scripture for her 14th parts. It's Enoch 78:6. And when the moon rises, 1/14th part appears in heaven. The light becomes full in her, and on the 14th day she completes her light. And 15 parts of light are transferred to her until the 15th day, when her light is completed, according to the sign of the year. And she becomes 15 parts. And the moon grows by individual 14th parts. And in her waning, she decreases on the first day to 14 parts of her light, on the second to 13 parts of light, on the third to 12, on the fourth to 11, on the fifth to 10, on the sixth to 9, on the seventh to 8, on the eighth to 7, on the ninth to 6, on the 10th to 5, on the 11th to 4, on the 12th to 3, on the 13th to 2, on the 14th to the half of a seventh, and the half of a seventh is basically a 14th. And all her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th. Now here are her percentages, and she will always be one of these phases because Enoch divides all her measurements into 14th parts. He says that 14/14 is 100%. So then if that would make, we just need to do the math now. 13/14 is 93%, 12/14 is 86%, 11/14 is 78%, 10/14 is 71%, 9/14 is 64%, 8/14 is 57%, 7/14 is 50%, 6/14 is 43%, 5/14 is 36%, 4/14 is 29%, 3/14 is 21%, 2/14 is 14%, 1/14 is 7%, and of course 0/14 is 0%. So on her 29th or 30th day of her monthly cycle, when she is completely invisible, both the sun and the moon will rise at exactly the same time in the east. The moon will have waned fully and become completely empty of all her light, and so we will not see her. She appears to be wearing her veil. You see, she and the sun apparently have just had a very quick romance and have decided to get married. And so she is wearing her wedding veil, so she is hidden from our sight. And they like to do this ritual every lunar month. And they will be together all day as they orbit through the sky until evening comes. You will not see the moon. Then they ride off into the sunset together and live happily ever after. And without fail, she always comes back pregnant with new light. The sun is known as a male, and the moon is known as a female. And we believe Abba has a tremendous sense of humor and that he laughs a lot. Now, if you don't think Abba and Yeshua laugh a lot, you haven't watched some of their animals they've created that are absolutely a hoot to watch. So the sun and moon are also like a married couple. Papa Sunlight and Mama Moonlight have a monthly romance during the dark time of the moon, and their fertility rate is 100% because they always produce a baby sliver of moonlight, which will grow from a baby into being a full-grown moon. And then the moon ebbs away into the golden years, dies, and is reborn each month with new light. The sun and moon have about 12 children per year, which is special numerically, like the many other 12s in Scripture. And every once in a while, like once in a blue moon, they will have 13 children in 1 year. So basically the two tropics, the Tropic of Cancer is 23 degrees. The Tropic of Capricorn is 23 degrees south, the other direction. The Cancer is north and Capricorn is south. When you add those degrees together, you get 46 degrees. So then 1 degree of latitude is, they say it's about 69 miles. So if we take that 46 degrees times the 69, we get 3,174. So that's why I say I rounded it down to 3,000 miles. That's why I say from tropic to tropic for the windows of heaven, I've divided them into 500 miles each, just because I figured out what the distance was according to the science's math. Now, the next math there is dealing with the moon. As she goes from tropic to tropic 25 times in a year, roughly. And so 3,000 miles times 25 times that she bounces back between those two tropics, it equals 75,000 miles in a year. She really boogies. But 75,000, you divide that by 12 for what she does every month, and it equals 6,250 per month. And then 6,250, you divide that by the 29.5 average cycle. She does 629 days each, 6 months of 29 days per year, and 6 months of 30 days per year. So that equals 354. But anyway, you divide that, it's roughly 212 miles that she goes north or south every day. And so I round that off for ease also to 200 miles. And you divide the 200 by 24 hours for what she does in an hour. And so she's going about 8 or 9 miles per hour, and yet 8 or 9 miles per hour, she'll do 75,000 miles in 1 year. And that's just the north or south. That doesn't take into consideration her circular spin, which is much, much faster than that. She's got to go clear around the circumference, basically, of the Earth in the in those 6 middle gates. So we'll do the math on that another time. But that's between 1,500 to 2,000 miles per day that she's flying through the sky in a circular pattern. But anyway, we'll do that another time. Now, I have figured out the cycles too, and I will show that later. But just for here, the moon cycles per year, you take 365.24. That's the average of all the years plus the leap years. You divide that by 29.5, and so there are 12.4 cycles of the moon every year in reality, but only 12 are actually counted, the 6 29-day ones and the 6 30-day ones. But in reality, there really is 12.4 cycles of the moon in every 365 or 366 day year. So here's the 24 windows of heaven. Oops, I got to zero that in maybe. If you can see, hopefully that you can read the numbers, but there's really 24 windows, 500 miles each, all the way out, and this was just simply a monumental task. We couldn't find a piece of plastic to get any bigger than that. So these are all windows out here. The sun and moon stay within these 6 central windows. And here's the equator, here's the Tropic of Capricorn, here's the Tropic of Cancer. There's 9 gates to the middle here, and then there's 9 gates from here on out to the edge of heaven, basically to the edge of the firmament. And so like I say, the 6 gates that the sun and moon never leave are these 6 central gates right here. Now the sun is just all steady as you goes. He's in each one of these gates 30 days, and he just makes literally 364 perfect concentric circles from this gate of the Tropic of Cancer to this gate here, the Tropic of Capricorn. There's literally 364 perfect concentric circles. Now the moon, she never does any concentric circles. She's constantly doing a spiral of 200 miles farther north or farther south, and until she gets all the way out to the end. Well, actually right here. She stays between here and here too. But I'll show you that on another board here shortly too, what the moon looks like. So The moon will be just like a bouncing basketball would be a good analogy of what she does. She bounces back and forth between the two tropics, and she does cross, at least in 2019, she crosses the equator an amazing 25 times. So to get perspective of how intimately small our Earth really is, if you were to jog 24 hours per day, you could jog at 8 or 9 miles per hour from the North Pole center all the way to the outer extreme border of the Earth. And you could do that in 60 days. You could start here in the center, North Pole, jog all the way out to heaven, the edge of heaven here, the edge of the Earth, in only 60 days. Now if you really want to do a marathon, you could jog the entire diameter of the Earth from one end of the firmament of heaven to the other end of this sky blue ice igloo firmament tent, if you will, in only 120 days, going only 8 or 9 miles per hour. So you could literally start out here, go all the way across, come out all the way to the other edge of heaven, and you could do that in 120 days, just jogging 8 or 9 miles per hour. That gives us a little bit of perspective of how intimate this Earth really is. So in other words, you could actually get on a fast lawnmower and drive from one end of heaven all the way to the other end of heaven in 120 days. You know, that's providing you had a flat, dry surface to work with and plenty of gasoline and another mower team driver to switch off with, and hopefully you have a bunk and other necessities with you. Now the stars, they all have seasons because of the daily shift of the sun. Now, for example, with this sun, wherever he's at, these stars right here will not be seen at all during that time of the year when the sun's in their midst, because he's too bright. And so when he moves on around the wheel, then this part over here brightens up, and more stars, I should say it darkens down, and more stars become illumined. Now as the sun moves this way, he daily causes some of these stars to not be seen anymore because the sun's brightness is covering them. And so that's why we have seasons. And he'll do a complete 360. This right here is the ecliptic that the sun will ride on every year. He takes the exact same 364 horse mounts. And as you can see right here, I've got it going clear out to the edge of the Tropic of Capricorn, and that would be the winter solstice. And then as he comes into the inner part of this wheel, that would be the spring, the summer solstice, I should say. And then where he crosses the equator, one of them is the fall equinox, and on the other side over here would be the spring. The spring equinox and the fall equinox. So all four seasons are basically the intercalary days, and so there's 364 horses basically on this wheel. And as he comes around to this, I call this little, someplace there's a meridian somewhere, and I call it the Pony Express station, because that's where he hops off his horse and he goes directly north or directly south for, I should say directly north is that way, directly south is this way, for about 16 miles. And we get the 16 miles because we took the 3,000 miles of, and then divided that up. There's 500 miles in each gate. So when you divide the 6 months that he's going north, 3,000 miles, there's 182 horses that he uses. So you divide 3,000 by 182 and you get about 16 and a half. I just round it down to 16 miles per day that he either goes north or south. And it's been shown that the sun is about 32 miles in diameter, so that just makes a very nice number. He moves about half of his diameter north or south every single day. And so these stars, I made little constellations. You might not be able to see them too well, but the sun basically is in those constellations, and he will make a complete ecliptic, they call it, an ecliptic orbit around the entire wheel in 365 or 366 days. And as he's going, like I say, these won't be seen until the sun moves on. Now, one other thing this was the Big Dipper here. At the 2 equinoxes, that tail will be pointed in exactly the opposite directions. And when on the 2 solstices, the Big Dipper's tail, it will be faced in exactly 2 different directions. So we know that wheel is spinning, and we know the sun is riding on it. And it's just more empirical evidence of the creation that Abba says exists. And he used Enoch in books like Jubilee and even Genesis. And it's not what we've been taught in our school books. It's an amazing creation, and we believe that the messengers do have to keep this thing in tip-top shape. It's a mechanical, electronic contraption, and Abba provided jobs for the messengers. He always gives us something to do. Even when we go to heaven, we're not just going to sit around on a cloud somewhere and do whatever we want. We all have work to do. Abba has something to keep us occupied, something that we'll love, of course. And you get a lot of hints at that, like the servant that's going to inherit 10 cities, and like the psalmist that says, "I'd rather be a doorkeeper in my Father's kingdom," and things like that. We have work to do. So we believe that this takes maintenance, and these 4 generals, it says they lead thousands of other messengers, and they have paths all over this wheel for maintenance and however they get around. Now it's very likely an invisible type of energy wherever they run on, whatever, because we can see through it. We can see the blue sky through both wheels, and we believe that blue sky is the firmament. So there's a lot of things we'll learn when we finally get to go up there. But Enoch saw the paths of all the messengers, and they're constantly doing maintenance and whatever they do. So I'll demonstrate that in a minute, how that actually works. So the higher the elevation angle is, the closer that the sun and moon are to us in America. And of course this is opposite for people south of the Tropic of Capricorn, for example. And as the sun gets higher and closer for us up north, it gets lower in the sky and farther away for them in the south. The sun and moon should also be larger in the sky the higher the angle gets. And the higher the angles are, is also the higher the number of the 6 gates that the sun and moon will be for us up north. And when viewed from the south, the sun gets lower as the gate number gets higher. So as the sun gets higher in angle and closer to us, he also logically gets hotter and stays in the sky for longer periods of time. And we'll be doing a video on that, on Enoch, on the portions of the day, how the light shifts. Whereas in the summer solstice, you'll have basically 16 hours of sunlight and only 8 hours of darkness, and that'll switch to the winter solstice, where you'll have 8 hours of light and 16 hours of darkness. And we'll explain how that works. And basically it's because the moon is going north or south and getting farther away from us and closer to us, and he stays in the sky longer when he's higher in the sky. You see him longer periods of time. So the sun will make exactly 364 perfect concentric circles around Polaris every year, and he uses 1 mount to go around twice, which is 48 hours every spring equinox for the 365-day years. And on the special leap years, the sun uses another mount at the fall equinox to also go 48 hours for the 366-day years. These mounts are numbered 182 and 364, and they are the intercalary days. And this is just a theory, but we believe there is a meridian in the sky somewhere that the sun crosses, and this special horse changing station is possibly called the Pony Express, because this is where the sun changes his mounts. We think that it's possible that the moon changes her light at the exact same time wherever she is, but we will need to research this. The sun appears to jump off his horse on the star wheel, and while he's headed either north or south to his new pony, the star wheel advances underneath him by about 1 degree. Now remember, the stars orbit 361 degrees every day, but the sun only orbits 360 degrees every day. in precisely 24 hours. And so the star's timing for 360 degrees is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. So the difference of this number from 24 hours is that 3 minutes and 56 seconds. And so for every exactly 3 minutes and 56 seconds every day, the sun is not going in a circular motion, but he's going either straight north or straight south, depending on the season. And he goes for about 16 miles. And then when he gets there, his new horse will have spun underneath him. That's about half of his diameter again. The sun will move every day. It's pretty imperceptible, but I'm hoping we can actually catch it with our own observance. So the stars will advance that 1 degree underneath him while he is off his horse, and then the sun sets back down on the star wheel on a very new horse and finishes his 24-hour day with a sidereal day spin on the star wheel until he comes back again to the point of beginning at that Pony Express station. So when you add that 3 minutes and 56 seconds that he's off the wheel and he's going either north or south, you add that 3 minutes and 56 seconds to the 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds, you get a perfect 360 degrees orbit that the sun will go every day, and that also equals the perfect 24-hour day. Now, if we can find that secret meridian, wherever that is, or that radius of the wheel, however it's called, we will have found the start of every day and the place, that'll be the secret place of the dawn. And the sun's days start at dawn and not in the evening. So he's definitely not on a moon calendar. As a matter of fact, the moon isn't on a moon calendar either because she follows her husband's lead. Now again, we need some Zadokite warriors out there that want to help us discover this secret place. What we need to do is share research data from all parts of the Earth, and we will be able to narrow it down when she switches from one moon phase to another. We can compare our pictures and write down our timing for her phases. We could put a camera on her from all over the Earth and record her every move. It should be a specific point in time when she instantaneously flips her switch from, say, 9/14 to 10/14 illumination. Now any P900s or P1000s out there that can really zoom in would be wonderful to have in this research project. And you should be able to literally zero in on a specific crater and watch the light instantaneously change. Now I'm just going to demonstrate a short demonstration here how this actually might work. So the sun stays on this ecliptic 364 different stations, and it goes clear around the entire, all 88 constellations. He's in all of the 88 constellations every year. That's why we have the seasons. And so the moon will actually ride on a wheel just below the sun. And so she recedes by 49 minutes each day from the sun. And so they get back together exactly every 29 days. They set together as a new moon in exactly 29 or 30 days. And so I averaged it out to 29.5. So let's say he just got on his horse. He changed horses at this Pony Express station. He goes this way, right, counterclockwise, and he comes back around to this point of beginning again. We'll say it's right here on this line here. He'll come off the wheel, and this wheel will spin 1 degree while he's either going north or south. And he's going north at this point. The next horse mount will be there, and he'll set back down. And he was off, basically not off the clock, but his first 3 minutes and 56 seconds of the day, he was either going north or south. He wasn't going in a circular pattern. Now he's going to go in a circular pattern, and he's going to take the 23-hour, 56-minute, and 4-second sidereal day of the stars, because he rides right on the wheel with them, and they make a sidereal spin. Come back to the point of beginning again. He does it all over again. It'll advance 1 more degree and he gets on a new horse and does it all over again. And he'll do that all the way around the wheel. Now, every once in a while, this will happen, where the sun will be on the other side, actually, and we're looking up. And so the moon is in between us and the sun. So this is when the eclipses happen, is when the moon will get in front of the sun. And I should have some new tape. But anyway, that's how it works. And she will recede from the sun by about 49 degrees every day. Then she will recede by 49 degrees all the way around the wheel. It'll take her 29.5 days to do it. And then she will not be a full moon at that point. She will be a basically no light, and then she will become a waxing moon with light to the right. And then they will set together in the western sky together as a sun and a waxing moon every 29.5 days. Okay. And I'll just repeat here, the moon never does concentric circles around Polaris. I'm going to show you what she does. She looks more like a spiral. Now let me make sure that's zeroed in. So each of those spirals, she'll do about 14 or 15 from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn. And she crosses that equator. It's not a perfect diagram. We had already had the tropics and the equator drawn, so we kind of had to just kind of fudge it a little bit, but you get the idea. She will literally not make any concentric circles because she's either going north or south, about 8 or 9 miles per hour, and so she just makes a big spiral, and whereas the sun will do 364 perfect concentric circles. He gets on a new horse every day. So she really gets around. She flies. So you can find out exactly what gate the sun is in from the perspective of where you live, just by matching up Abba's calendar date with your observation. For example, right now with Abba's calendar, we are in the 3rd month, with Shavuot not far away, coming up next weekend on June 2nd. So for the 30 days of month 3, the sun will still daily be headed about 16 miles north every day. And he's currently in gate 6 already. And he will continue to climb higher in the sky all the way to the summer solstice, which is around June 21st usually. That doesn't necessarily match Abba's calendar perfectly. It may be 3 or 4 days different than that, but we don't worry about that. The equinoxes are what Abba changes his calendar with. So that goes all the way to the summer solstice, which will be on the outer edge of gate 6. And this northward movement will end on the summer gate intercalary day, and then he will reverse course and march 30 days back through gate 6 on his way back to the Tropic of Capricorn. He'll go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 through the gates all the way back to the Tropic of Capricorn. And I will show in a video how we can all capture a portion of our sky and turn it into a backyard observatory for monitoring the sun and the moon. And I will call this portion of sky your reference point. And I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty neat. And I was able to do it this spring, and I had some amazing discoveries. So if you can find a reference point in your sky for marking, basically what you're looking for is you want to be able to see all 6 gates of heaven at the same time. And you can put a stationary fixed point in, from your reference point, and be able to mark off where the sun and the moon are every day. Like I say, I'll show you how to do that in another video. But you want to be able to see all 6 gates of heaven from the very northern point of the Tropic of Cancer all the way down to the most southern point, which would be the Tropic of Capricorn. And it makes it a lot of fun when you can have the whole sky as your view. And it might just be a little bit, 10 o'clock in the morning for your sun and whatever. That's what I had to do. I had to shoot over my house and around some trees. So I had a really tight spot. I only had one place on my whole property where I could see all 6 gates of heaven. So anyway, we'll do that coming up after we get the calendar done. So if you can find a reference point in your sky for marking the sun for the coming summer solstice, this is all the farther north that the sun is going to go from your perspective. And this is the far inside point of gate 6. Now if you then will also mark your reference point in your sky 6 months later, when the sun is at the winter solstice, this is the farther south the sun will go from your perspective. And this will be the outer edge of gate 1. Now you have a reference point for the entire path of the sun from gate 1 to gate 6, and you can divide that up into the remaining gates just by observing our reference point for where the sun is at the beginning and end of each month on Abba's calendar, which will also be the correct locations for all the edges of the 6 gates. Now the moon will never go beyond the 6 gates you just marked out for the sun, and you can tell what gate the moon is in every day just by knowing where the sun operates each month and applying the moon's angles to match the sun's angles. So in other words, when you mark out all gates, 6 gates, the very edges on your reference point in your sky for all 6 gates of the sun, you can do the same thing for the moon. Those are the same places where the moon will enter the gate and exit the gates as well. Now, there can never be an impossible lunar eclipse, since both the sun and the moon orbit overhead above us, and the earth does not move. Solar eclipses, however, do occur, like I showed you on the wheel there just a little bit ago. They do occur, therefore the wheel that the sun and stars are on is above the wheel that the moon is on from our perspective. So that's how we know that the star wheel is definitely on top from our perspective of the moon wheel, because she does get in front of him, and there definitely is solar eclipses. Never a lunar eclipse, but there's always solar eclipses. The earth never casts a shadow on anything in heaven, and this is actually laughable to think this monstrous earth casts its huge shadow on a tiny moon. The moon is likely approximately a whopping 32 miles in diameter, which, when you think about it, it's an amazing and enormous creation for the size of a light bulb at that. But a 24,000 mile diameter earth casting a shadow on a 32-mile moon is rather ridiculous. The luminaries cast shadows on the earth, but never the other way around. The luminary shadows are going to get very large in the end, when both the sun and moon have their 32-mile diameter carcasses cast to the earth in the end, along with all the much smaller stars, when Abba destroys heaven, and he destroys both the sun, moon, and all the stars in the worldwide lake of fire. And here's some more scriptures on that. Isaiah 60, verse 19. The sun shall be no more your light by day, nor for brightness shall the moon give you light. But Yehovah will be your everlasting light, and your Elohim will be your glory. Your sun shall no more go down, nor your moon withdraw itself. For Yehovah will be your everlasting light, and your days of mourning shall be ended. And then in Revelation 21. And the city has no need of sun or moon to shine on it, for the glory of Elohim gives it light, and its lamp is the Lamb. And remember in that, I believe it was the second video, we gave you the scripture from 2 Peter 3 that showed that all of the bodies in the heavens are going to be cast to the earth and burned up. The entire heaven is going to be burned up. So this is just some more confirming witnesses that this is going to happen when Abba makes everything brand new. And he's going to make it on the earth that its foundation will never change, but it is going to melt. It is going to be completely flat. There's going to be no mountains, it says. There's going to be no valleys. There's going to be no ocean. That New Jerusalem is going to be able to come right down in the center and you know, there's the Arctic Ocean at the center right now. That's going to be gone. That's likely where the Garden of Eden was, and we'll be doing you know, in the future we're going to be doing a study on that. It just got filled with water. It was evidently in a concave type place before it was filled in. There was never any rain on the earth till the flood. The flood was actually the very first rain on the earth. So if you lived in, you know, if you lived in the valley, or if you lived in really low points on the earth, it didn't matter. You weren't going to get drowned out or whatever, flooded out, because it never rained. So we just believe very likely the Garden of Eden was also at the North Pole. And since Yeshua is likely the Polaris North Star, it just seems like he goes directly up and down right there, and that would be the perfect place for the center of heaven to be on a centrally you know, round earth, whatever. It just makes sense. So just a question to ask: since Abba calls the heavenly bodies luminaries, shouldn't we find out what the definition of what that is? Our definition of a luminary is, I should say one definition of it is, a celestial object that gives light. Abba says in Genesis 1 that there is a greater light, sun, that rules the day, and a lesser light, moon, that rules the night and the stars. And Abba and Yeshua placed them all in the firmament for the purpose of giving light. The location for all the luminaries was between the waters above, which he already used to flood the earth, and the waters below, which are the seas. And we don't believe there is any more water above the tent that we live in. The wicked won't drown when the firmament is destroyed, and worldwide hellfire is not going to be quenched by water. We believe Abba used it all up already. Now we are going to need help verifying how the moon operates with more empirical evidence. But we believe this is how she works, and her 24-hour days are tied exactly to the timing of the sun. We believe that at the exact same time that the sun changes his 364 annual mounts is likely the exact same timing that the moon flips her light switches on or off in very definite measures. She flips them on while she's waxing and off while she's waning. The moon has her very own light source, and her light is not a reflection from the sun, nor is the earth ever casting her shadow upon the moon. The moon is a totally rechargeable light source that gets her electrical energy from the sun every month when they are in the same place in the sky, which is at the beginning of the new moon. Then once her batteries are charged back up, she slowly discharges this energy by flipping on and off her very definite measured lights until she is empty of power. And she will first wax or gain light in definite 14th parts until she is completely full, and then wane or lose light in very definite 14th parts until she is completely empty. Here's the scripture of the moon having definite measurements of light and not gradual amounts. Enoch 73:2. And her roundness is like the roundness of the heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in definite measure. When she's totally discharged, this is when she finds the sun at the beginning of her new monthly cycle every month. And women will notice a pattern here. Enoch says the moon has very definite measurements of light, and that she doesn't gradually become one phase of the moon light to another phase. And when watching the moon change her lights, it should be an instantaneous change, exactly like switching on and off a light switch. We believe that if we can catch that moon in action, when she flips her switch, we will have discovered the secret timing of the 24-hour day. Now the sun and the moon are tied together. So we're calling Zadokite warriors from all over the earth to help us. Let's try to catch that moon in action. Now please notate the exact timing if you can catch this precise millisecond of time, because the sun and moon should have the exact same timing of the day according to Enoch. And this is in Enoch 73:3. And her rising and setting change every month. And her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. So when the moon is full, She is 1/7 the brightness of the sun. Her rising and setting do change because her wheel only spins around Polaris 354 times per year. She's also going north or south to 200 miles per day. That changes the rising and setting right there. But her 24-hour lights should match the sun's 24-hour days if our theory is correct. And we need to do a lot more research, and we do need some help. Now we know from history that the average lunar month is 29.5 days, and that matches the 354 days per year of 6 29-day lunar months plus 6 30-day lunar months to equal exactly 354 days. Now we know that every believer is grafted into the 12 tribes of Israel. That's Romans 11:11 through 24. Now we believe a great possibility is that on day one of creation was when Abba and Yeshua were separating the children of light from the children of darkness. And they were in the process of calling all the faithful stars by name and preparing to place them on the star wheel above, and naming all the unfaithful stars as well and placing them on the moon's wheel below, which they completed on day 4 of creation as a parable. And we believe Yeshua's star could possibly be the North Star Polaris. Now, the true remnant of believers was named according to the stars, and we read that in one of the first videos, Enoch 43:1. And since we are all grafted into Israel, does it not make sense that our inheritance is likely in a circular pattern according to the constellations assigned to the 12 tribes of Israel? Here we simply have ideas of what they might look like, and we have included the names of the 12 tribes, their gemstone on the breastplate worn by the high priest, and what their name means. We show Yeshua as the center North Star Polaris that everyone revolves around. Notice that if the New Jerusalem comes down to the center of the earth, the best way to divide the land up by tribe is to cut it up in a circle. That way each tribe always has access to Yeshua without infringing upon the land of the other tribes. So in other words, you know, if this is the intimate setting when we first start our, the forever, when heaven and earth are made brand new, we all have access, no matter what tribe we belong to, we all have access to the New Jerusalem without having to infringe upon the territory of any of the other 12 tribes. Now, if you need to expand the territory, these lines here just go out into eternity, infinity. And it would still, you don't have to mess with any of the other tribes. You just extend your line, and you know exactly where your territory is. So anyway, I thought that was a pretty good analogy. Now, here we are. We're the stars. We don't know where we're at. We don't know which one we are. We don't know what tribe we belong to. But Abba does. He called us all by name on the 4th day. We all answered him. And it says in that scripture of Enoch 43 that we also were put on the earth at different times. And so we all were placed up there as a parable. All those stars are likely just going to be destroyed anyway. I believe we're going to enjoy them for 1,000 years. However, I believe that we will go to heaven. And we'll be doing a teaching on this in the future. But I believe that the wicked people are left on the earth for 1,000 years, and we rule and reign over them. And they will perish in the end. But we will still mete out all the justice, and they will serve us, and they will do what they're told, or be punished, or whatever. And I believe we rule and reign over them for 1,000 years. We get to do it while we're in heaven, and we'll come back and forth like the messengers do now. So anyway, that's for another day. But anyway, we don't know where we're at up here. But wherever we're at, we're grafted into one of these 12 tribes. And what Donna did was she found all these of course, she got the normal names of the 12 tribes. And then she found words that from Scripture that each of the tribes, their name means. Joseph is a bull. Benjamin is twins. Judah, of course, is the lion. And then these 12 stones are the breastplate that the high priest wore. So Yeshua is our high priest now. He wears those 12 stones on his breastplate because all 12 tribes are represented in those 12 stones. And so that's why we're all grafted into Israel, because Yeshua is all of us. He's all our high priest for all of us. And so anyway, we believe Yeshua is the North Star, the center. We are his treasured possession, Deuteronomy 14:2. And like I say, our names are written in the stars. If you can find your star, you will find your tribe. So, I'll finish up with some scripture from the book of Enoch. It's very encouraging scripture, and I just wanted to end on it. Now, I'll introduce it this way. Notice that if the New Jerusalem comes down to the center of the earth, the best way to divide the land up by tribe is to cut it up in a circle. That way each tribe always has access to Yeshua without infringing upon the land of the other tribes. Also, when it's time to expand the territory, when there are millions of more children born, a circle is the most perfect design to extend the boundaries. Some will say there is no marriage in heaven. True, but this new earth is after the 1,000-year Sabbath rest in heaven. And Enoch says, on the new earth we will have thousands of children. Enoch 10:16. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end. And let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The works of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forevermore. And then shall all the righteous escape, and shall live until they bear thousands of children. And all the days of their youth they shall complete their Sabbaths in peace. And then shall the whole earth be tilled in righteousness, and shall be planted with trees, and be full of blessing. And all desirable trees shall be planted on it, and they shall plant vines on it. And the vine which they plant on it shall yield wine in abundance. And as for all the seed which is sown on it, each measure of it shall bear 1,000. And each measure of olives shall yield 10 presses of oil. And you cleanse the earth from all oppression, and from all unrighteousness, and from all sin, and from all wickedness, and destroy all the uncleanness that is worked in the earth from off of the earth. And all the children of men will become righteous, and all nations will offer adoration and will praise me. And the earth will be cleansed from all defilement, and from all sin, and from all punishment, and from all torment, and I will never send them upon it again, from generation to generation, and forever. And in those days I will open the store chambers of blessing which are in the heaven, so as to send them down upon the earth over the work and labor of the children of men. And truth and peace shall be associated together throughout all the days of the world, and throughout all the generations of men. Wow! Are those not the most encouraging words that our souls and spirits can hear? The rewards of following Abba and Yeshua are so worth it, my friends. We pray we can take many like-minded people along with us to paradise. And we believe we have been called to encourage and to teach our brothers and sisters many truths, like this passage from Enoch,